Welcome to another episode of Golf and Politics. We just finished Matt's lesson and club fitting with Phillip.
Just a putter fitting today. Just a putter
Just
fitting.
a putter.
Yeah.
Just a putter fitting. But we got you getting you set up for a
We
club
did.
fitting.
Potentially doing a club fitting in Pittsburgh later this month, which I am stoked about. So we'll see if that works out.
Well, we did a podcast episode before this on the way up talking about like kind of preparing for the lesson and talking about getting people into golf, tips for people getting into golf, things like that. And now we're going to talk about kind of how the lesson went, what you learn, things like that. But if you want to see the lesson for yourself, that's on YouTube right now. And you can go and check that out. It's going to be its own video.
Yeah, I want to encourage our listeners. We have a lot of people I know that just listen on Apple Podcasts or just listen on Spotify. And first of all of our episodes have a video component to them. So if you like to watch things, like we're on YouTube and you can get videos there. But we have additional content that we record outside of the podcast that gets posted on YouTube. Some are very short videos, some are longer, extended videos. Phillip Walker at Back Nine Golf in Bentonville, can't thank him enough for just filming everything and allowing us to have full range of his studio there as we worked on my lesson. But yeah, it's going to be there, and I guarantee, like, he was working with me on what I needed to fix in my golf swing. But if you're a golfer, you're going to appreciate it, and I'm sure you're going to learn something from the lesson that can be helpful to you.
Yeah, so getting started, what was it you said you wanted to address when you first went down there today?
Well, the big thing for me is that I'm hitting the ball so much better overall than I was when I started taking lessons with Maggie back in November. And down in Pinehurst, North Carolina last week, first two rounds at Pinehurst number 10 and Pinehurst number 4, I played really well, hit the ball very solid. And then on the third day, it all fell apart, and I could not get off the tee and was hitting very wild shots. But the predominant miss was high and right. Now, I am a fader of the golf ball. That is my go-to shot off the tee. I do not hit a draw off the tee. I don't even try to hit a draw off the tee. And so everything does go left to right. However, the shots on last Thursday at Pinehurst number 2 were right to right, which is a real problem. Like, I could not get it fixed. And it's what happens when I'm hitting it really bad to the right too. I'm hitting it way higher than I need to hit it, and it's a high block, and sometimes can be just an absolute wild miss. And I know what it is that happens when I hit it high and right. I just didn't know how to fix it effectively. And that's where today I think Phillip helped me a ton on trying to fix it. And we've talked too through some psychology that you can see in the video, just psychology of when you don't have your best stuff, how to make sure that you don't score 89. I mean, that's he kind of just rolled his eyes at me when I said I shot 72, 76, 89, and he's just like, how on earth do you shoot 89? I know it's Pinehurst number 2, but there's no reason to shoot 89. If you're in the trees, like, still figure out a way to make par or bogey, and I obviously did not do that very well. It also led to the fact that he wants me to come back and do a short game lesson. He said, clearly your short game was not on point if you shot 89 at Pinehurst.
Well, kind of on that is I was getting some stuff set up before, and you guys talked for a little bit before I had the camera set up. And I think that's when you were really talking about kind of the mental game before the lesson, right? So what are some of the things that he pointed out to you? Because that may not be in the video.
You know, the number one, when you're fighting a golf swing, you can't be thinking about fighting your golf swing. Like, you've just hit one high right into the trees. The whole focus has to be, how do I make par from here? He talked about during his professional playing days, his idea was like, I refuse to make a bogey. I will not make a bogey. And what he's saying is, yes, I'm out of position, but the next shot is the next shot, and I'm going to make the best shot of my life right here. That doesn't mean that you do things stupid and take unnecessary risk. If you have to hit a punch shot, hit the best punch shot you can to get yourself back into playing. Give yourself a chance to make a par. Give yourself a chance, in my case, sometimes to make a bogey. But having a much better mental attitude about that recovery shot is incredibly important to scoring. If I've hit one high and right, that's in the past. That's not normal. He also said, that was my fourth or fifth day of playing in a row. Let's see, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, fifth day of playing 18 holes in cold weather. Like, I could have just been stiff and sore and my body wasn't moving quite right. There's still, don't let it be an 89. It should have been a 70. Like, find a way to shoot 79 even when you don't have your best stuff. For me, that's for me. And if you're a 15 handicapper, find a way to shoot 89 instead of 99. Like, wherever it is in your golf game, you've got to find a way to salvage that bad round and not just make bogey after bogey, double bogey. I even made an 8 on one hole last Thursday. So he was very helpful on the mental side of things. Good reminders, and not to get so technical on the golf course, focus on playing golf and getting the ball in the hole in the least amount of strokes possible. We work on the golf swing in the studio or in the driving range.
Yeah, but essentially the biggest tip is just focus on the next shot. Don't, like, once the shot's hit, it's done. It's the past.
You
Don't
got to be
think about it.
completely focused on the next shot and what you have to do to succeed at a high level on that shot. Whether it's a punch shot out of a dangerous situation or a shot from the middle of the fairway, you got to be completely focused and honed in on that shot, one at a time.
And so you're talking about, and you couldn't really, like you said, you couldn't really figure out exactly what you were doing. Right? You knew how the shot was going, but you didn't know how to fix it. You didn't quite know what was going wrong. So what did he tell you that was wrong? And then what was the main focus of the lesson?
Well, immediately we saw that I was, hitting 8-iron shots. I never hit a shot in the studio other than 8-iron today. Just 8-iron, 8-iron, 8-iron. But in first 5 shots, we saw that I was steep, which that's one thing. Okay, you're steep, but why are you steep? If I'm just focused on, we want to get the club, in my opinion, I want to get the club shallow without thinking about shallowing the club. And what happened was I was making my turn and my chest would turn, and then I would come through the ball and my chest, my sternum would stay back and my left shoulder was coming up high. So that causes me sometimes to hit the ball fat because my weight is back, even though I'm turning with my lower body. If my upper body's still back there, I'm going to be too steep and coming down behind the ball instead of coming in at the appropriate angle at the ball. So that's one thing. Or I'm going to hit it, and I'm going to hit it with a much higher launch angle than it needs to go. And when you're playing in cold and wind, hitting the ball super high is not always helpful. It's not something you want to do, and it creates an inconsistent strike. So sometimes I'm coming through, and also I can feel as an athlete, like, I don't know, sometimes people might think that's arrogant, refer to yourself as athlete. I think golfers are athletes, and if you're playing golf, you can feel as an athlete, you can feel that something's off. And so what happens is you end up trying to fix things with your hands at impact. And it's subconscious. It's not like I'm sitting there thinking as I'm swinging, I'm going to fix this with my hands. But you can see it on the videos when you watch this. You can see that I'm trying to fix it with the right hand, getting the club square, because I know I'm out of position. And I don't want the right hand manipulating the club. I want the golf swings and the biomechanics of the golf swings to manipulate the face of the club to the right place. And so that's what we worked on, is getting my sternum to cover the golf ball, if you will. And that might not make sense if you're listening, but if you watch the video, you'll understand what I mean by having your sternum cover the golf ball, and allows me to come through and hit with a consistent strike and consistently hit that straight ball with an 8-iron or a straight ball that falls slightly to the right. That's exactly what I'm looking for on every shot.
Yeah, you talked about lowering the launch angle, right?
Right.
So what, like a 6 to 8 degree difference or something like that? I think it was.
We went. I think I was launching it like
It was like 24 or something.
I went down to
like
launch
18
consistently at 18, with a steeper angle of attack at the golf ball, which is good because it's going to keep me from hitting shots fat. We worked on that, and being able to control the trajectory is very helpful in living in a place like Oklahoma that has lots of wind.
Yeah, well, and I was also going to say, like, that ties in really well to how you would have liked to play in Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, this lesson would have helped you a lot before you went on your Ireland trip.
Every lesson, though, you're learning something. I mean, I've got an hour with him in the studio. We're working on Golf Summit. my swing is, I think it's okay. I'm happy with it. But you got to think the pros are working with their coaches how many hours a day, right? So they're just constantly working on this. There's only so much Phillip can address in 1 hour, and it's usually just like one thing that we've got to focus on right now to get you to where you're hitting more consistent strikes. And one thing that I can go back to Tulsa and go to the driving range and drill it and drill it and drill it over and over again. Sometimes hitting like 60-yard shots even to drill covering the golf ball with my sternum and keeping this left shoulder in my right shoulder parallel as opposed to being tilted at impact.
And so what drill are you going to kind of utilize most? He gave you a couple different things with the, what is the
alignment stick.
Alignment stick.
Right, put it so the
And
main
then
iron, my ball
the
position is in the
tire
middle of my stance. He also widened my stance out quite a bit. And we had a nice discussion about that. He likes me coming. He's like, I've got plenty of power. I'm not trying to generate power. I'm trying to just hit consistent strike golf shots, right? So he likes the more wide base with my left foot, left toes flared out. So we worked on widening my stance a little bit. 8-iron you play in the middle of your stance. So we put an alignment stick right in the middle of my stance. And I focused on turning my sternum away from center and then covering it back up. So like, thinking about turning my upper body without my lower body going crazy is just focused on this movement here. And those listening, they don't know what here means. I'm pointing to my sternum. Just getting that sternum to cover the golf ball is what we'll work on. And I'll do some 3/4 shots. I'll do, chip shots. I'm not really worried about where the ball's going. I'm more worried about consistently getting that drilled in, into my muscle memory so that I'm not approaching the golf ball with my left shoulder out of whack and high and get that high right. I want to get rid of that high right miss the best that I can.
Yeah, in as you were finishing up the session, you had asked about this swing and addressing like your drivers.
Yeah.
Using a driver and stuff. And does it change how you swing those, or like what would you work on for that? And what did he tell you?
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that a driver. So like when I'm hitting an 8-iron, my angle of attack was, I believe, 7 to 8 degrees down on the ball. If you try to hit a driver 7 or 8 degrees down, like that's a mess, right? You're not going to be able to hit a driver. You need to be able to launch a driver either at 0 or with a positive launch angle. And so I guess in my mind, I'm confused. Like, okay, how does this equate to the driver swing? Because he's telling me the 8-iron swing needs to be, what I'm doing here with the 8-iron needs to be very similar to the driver. And so he was able to show me on video, as you can see in our video, that you're still moving your sternum away from your initial setup and then covering it back to the initial point. So when you set up on a driver, I'm playing the ball off my front foot and my head is behind the ball and my sternum is behind the ball. So as I turn away from that, I'm coming back to cover that initial point, still allowing me to hit up on the driver, but not to the point where I'm early extending, if you will, or I'm standing up out of the swing and having movement towards the golf ball. I don't want my lower body moving towards the golf ball. I want my lower body staying the same distance away from the golf ball throughout the entire swing.
Yeah. But essentially all it was literally just the lie of the ball. You move the ball to your front
Move
foot.
the ball, and then.
But it was the same swing. Everything was exact same, other than positioning of the ball, right?
Yeah, and I think
it didn't sound like that's what you were expecting to hear on that.
Right, and I think that I've subconsciously, and this probably comes from seeing some stupid YouTube video where somebody has said, "Well, tilt your shoulders back to hit up on the ball with the driver." So I probably started doing that at some point in time because I heard it on YouTube. And what's ended up happening is I've developed this bad habit of my left shoulder being much higher than my right shoulder, causing me to hit irons fat, causing me to high right, misses with every club, especially with the longer club, 3-iron, hybrid, 3-wood driver, when really that's not at all what I should be doing to hit up on the golf balls. That's not even gonna create very much power either. So it was very helpful today to learn that, and something I can really drill here for the next couple weeks.
And then following the lesson, you went and got fitted for a putter. This was your first time ever doing that, right?
Yeah, I've never been fitted for a putter. Well, I will tell you this. I've always thought that putter fittings are probably a little bit bullshit. Like, there are so many different types of putters out there and putting strokes, and so much of putting is feel. Now, what I appreciate about Phillip right off the bat, he's like, look, I'm just going to tell you, like, this putter fitting, like, a lot of it's just what you like and what you feel. But what I like is that we tested and measured some things. Clearly, I don't have the putting stroke to be putting with a blade putter. That's just not my putting stroke. And I maybe can blame some of it. Like, I was a terrible putter. Jordan, I'm not joking. A terrible putter in high school. Terrible putter in college. I was a great ball striker back then, and I would oftentimes hit 13, 14, 15 greens in regulation in a round of golf and shoot 76 because I could not make a putt. In all those years, I was putting with a blade putter, very similar to the Cleveland putter that I took in today that I've been playing off and on with for the last couple of years.
So you have a attachment to because of you told a whole story about it.
It's a crazy thing how I bought it. I went to Tulsa Country Club to play around the golf and realized I'd left my putter at home. They let me borrow the putter. I went out, hit the ball terribly, but I made every putt I looked at. It was just nuts. Like, it was just one of these days. Everything I looked at went in. I think I had 26 or 27 putts, and I shot 73, or 72 or 73. And I'm just thrilled, And I went to the pro shop, and I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever done putting-wise. I'm buying this putter, and so I bought this used putter. And then, 2 rounds later, I had 38 putts and couldn't make anything. And it's like, you get frustrated and think, well, it's you. But at the end of the day, my putting stroke does not set up well for a toe-balanced putter, which most blade putters are. You have to have an arc in your putting swing. I don't have an arc in my putting stroke. I am a straight back, straight through putter. And so what we saw when we put it on the monitor is that I was very inconsistent with the strike with that putter. And so the last thing you want to take variables away, right? I mean, if I can take variables away, that's going to help me focus on speed and line, which is all you really need to be thinking about. Like, if I know my stroke's going to be the same, time in and time out, you're going to be much better off. So obviously the blade putter was not a good fit. The Odyssey 2-ball 10 putter that I have fits me fairly well. I putted fairly consistently with that. He says, this is a putter that fits you. Now, the problem with the Odyssey putter is that it still has torque. It's not a completely face balanced putter. And so the putter can go offline with user error. The lab putters, what's interesting about them is there's zero torque. They are lie angle balanced. It's a new technology in putting, and it's taken the golf world by storm. And really, in my opinion, why not use the best technology?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm going to play as much golf as I'm going to play, I might as well have as much enjoyment as I can by giving myself the best equipment possible. It'd be like, I could probably go out and play a good round of golf with an old Toro Bellata golf ball, but why would I want to do that when I can use the Pro V1, right? Which is a much superior product. The lab putter is a superior product, and that's a reason that so many PGA Tour players have switched to lab putters. It's the reason that if anywhere you go in America right now and play golf, you're going to see people using a lab putter. It's because the technology is great. And now other companies are copycatting what they've done. I heard Callaway's coming out with a lie angle balance putter here soon. And I think it's just something that, 10 years from now, you're going to see very few people playing the putters that they have now. They're going to be playing upgraded technology. Technology always changes. So I'm all for getting the best technology, and I was thankful to be able to go through that fitting today.
Yeah, but on that, right? Because you said that the blades weren't for you, the lab putter was because it's the balancing. Some people, depending on your putter stroke, may not want necessarily a lab putter, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that's a good question. I didn't really ask Phillip. Should people still be using, like, Curtis Strange back in the day, he talks about it in the video, had a very unique putting stroke. Ben Crenshaw's unique putting stroke. Are they going to continue, guys like that, should they continue using that type of putter? Is a lap putter not good for them? I don't know the answer to that. But Phillip kind of intimated that he thinks like everybody should use a lab because it's the technology's so good. Why would you want any torque in your putter? If you could take the torque out and you know it's going to go straight back and straight through every time, isn't that a better way to putt? Yeah. I don't know. I guess arguments can be made either way. I'm not an expert on golf equipment by any stretch. I just know that when I've fooled around with lab putters, I know I hit them on line much more consistently than I do with anything else I have in my bag right now.
What's kind of your biggest takeaway? Did you learn anything about your putting? Any notes for you that you're going to then take and apply to the course just from the fitting?
Yeah, I mean, we really didn't. He was very complimentary of my putting stroke actually, which is great because I mean, I think because my putting statistics were so bad as a kid, I've just always had in my head that I'm a bad putter. And one of the things you have to do, I think, to succeed at anything in life is you can't believe that negativity. You've got to maybe look at the statistics and improve on those statistics, but you can't start talking to yourself as I'm a bad putter. I mean, Phillip gave me a lot of confidence leaving there. He said, you've got a really great putting stroke. I'm very happy with it, but this is a great stroke. This is a stroke that you can win with. And I'm thinking, okay, great. Yeah. I mean, a pro just told me my putting stroke's good. Like, I feel like $1 million. And what I like about Phillip too, he's not BSing. Like, when there's a problem, he's going to tell you there's a problem. Like, he's not a con artist. And so I think that was my big takeaway, is that I have a good putting stroke. I need to learn to trust it. He gave me some tips to think about on the tempo side of things that I've already been thinking in that way. The putting stroke to me needs to be like a metronome, and I really need to have a good pendulum and a good tempo to my stroke. When I have a good tempo to my stroke, I make a lot more putts, especially from 6 to 10 feet, than when I'm trying to hit the putt to the hole.
Yeah.
So that was helpful. It was also interesting that I ended up getting a 34.5-inch putter, which is angle's fairly standard. I've bounced back and forth my whole life between 34 and 35-inch putters. And sometimes I feel more comfortable with 35, sometimes I feel more comfortable with 34. 34 oftentimes feels just a touch short. I've tried some 33-inch putters, never like in competition, but I fooled around with some 33-inch putters. I've never liked them at all. I thought it was way too short. Anything above 35, like arm lock, that kind of stuff, I've never even fooled with it because it just feels so uncomfortable to me.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that as we're standing there, like the first time I measured for the length that I like the best, it was 34. Second time I measured, it was 35. Third time I measured 34.5. So we just went with 34.5, which probably makes sense.
What was your biggest takeaway from the lesson? Out of the few different things that he talked about, what's kind of your biggest takeaway and the thing that you're going to kind of go back and you want to address?
Yeah, I mean, technically, it's just that I need to cover the golf ball. That makes all the sense in the world to me. And now I'm very clear when I'm missing the ball high and right. When I start it right and it goes right, like those are worst days, right? I know exactly why I'm doing that now, and I believe we can fix that, and I can practice that over and again, over time and again on the range. But I mean, as great as that was, I think just being able to spend that time with Phillip was the biggest takeaway from the lesson, because I just feel encouraged by him that my golf swing is good. I'm in a place. He thinks I should not be shooting 89 at Pinehurst number 2, which, okay, great. A pro doesn't think I should do that. So guess what? I shouldn't do that. And I need to get my head out of my ass when I'm on tilt after 4 holes of bad play. Like, it shouldn't last 4 holes of bad shot. You should have some bad shots. He goes, you're going to have high right misses from time to time because you're going to screw up because you're a human being. But there's no reason just hole after hole after hole to keep making the same mistakes. You got to get, take your head out, get it screwed on right, and get back to scoring and have a much better attitude that you're almost excited. If you don't have your best stuff, like, be excited that you're going to shoot the best, 77 of your life that day. Like, whatever it is, just fight for the best score you can each and every day. And, I need a lot of work on my mental game, but I'm excited to do that work because you know what? If I get the technical golf swing right, who really cares? Like, that doesn't affect any other part of my life. if I can get the mental side of golf, and, mastered, that's going to lead to success in every aspect of my life. It's going to help me in politics and my job. It's going to help me in raising my kids and being a better husband and, just being mentally sharp and embracing challenges, embracing tough things. You're going to face those things on the golf course. And I have not embraced them well over the last few months. And my scores show it, right? So I'm exposed. Went and hang out with a guy that today who's, a master at teaching golf and who, this close to making it on the PGA Tour, right? I mean, this is a guy that he's one of the best golfers in the world, I mean, that's what people think. Even if you don't make it on the PGA Tour, you're still one of the best golfers in the entire world at what you do. If you earn a scholarship at the University of Arkansas to play golf, you are a high-level golfer, right? And getting some of that mental advice from him today, that's going to help me, not just in golf, but in all aspects of my life. At the end of the day, what I shoot on the golf course is pretty meaningless in the grand scheme of things. I like to think in the moment it's real important, but, nobody cares what I really shot. But how you can take those lessons and then apply it to other things, that can have an eternal impact, in some ways. So excited for that today.
And one of the things you mentioned was the fact that, he complimented your putting stroke and how that has shifted that you were like, oh, I have a terrible putting stroke, and how that has affected you. That's another, on the last episode, we talked about taking advice and getting critical lessons from YouTube or Instagram, TikTok, but still working on it yourself. Is you don't have someone that's going to be like, oh no, that's a good stroke.
Yeah.
That's what you like, a part of your game that you think you may not have a good aspect in. If you don't have a actual coach that you're going to, they can't tell you that, oh yeah, that's actually good.
Right.
To help you reframe your mind. You're just going to continually be stuck in that.
Yeah.
I have a bad this. And
right.
I think that's one of the aspects of having a coach that people probably don't really think about, is how affirmation can change your
for sure,
your mindset.
I mean, think about if you're playing with a buddy and the buddy's telling you, boy, this is terrible, you need to fix this. And he's just as good at golf as you are, maybe even worse at golf than you are. But you start to believe that. Then you go to a pro who's definitely better than you, who's got the expertise to teach you how to do something, and he tells you, no, your swing is good. Oh, no, your putting stroke is good. So you're getting two different inputs. Who are you going to listen to? I'm going to choose to listen to the guy that's got fruit on his tree, that has a resume that makes sense. I'm going to choose to listen to him. And here's the other thing too. You just be careful who you listen to, right? I mean, if somebody's telling you that you're not good at your job or you're not good at this or that, it's okay to maybe take an evaluation and say, is there merit to what they're saying? But don't just automatically take what they say about you and take that on and take ownership of it. If somebody tells you you're a bad putter, don't take ownership of that and say, I'm a bad putter. Say, maybe say, screw that guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm a great putter. I'm going to make this putt. You got to have a strong mental attitude to succeed at anything, and definitely at golf. You're never going to, if you look at every one of my good rounds ever in my life, I had a great attitude on those days. And I had confidence. I knew where the ball, I knew I was going to be able to hit some good shots. And when I hit bad ones, like the day I shot 66 this past summer, I make a bogey on 16, and it was a pretty bad bogey. Did not let it get me down. I went to 17. I knocked it to 6. I almost made a hole-in-one on 17, right? This is just my day. 18, I get up and pull one dead left. Hits the maintenance building, bounces back in the middle of the fairway. And I make par. It was one of those days. I never once got angry. I never once was nervous over a putt. I never once was nervous over a tee shot. I was just in a flow, in a rhythm. And really that's how you got to get there. And if you're not there, because you're not always going to be there, you have to find ways to grind and stay positive and be excited about the shot that you have to pull off to get that par. And if you're having a terrible day, this is not who I am. You have an average, you have a mean, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is just a deviation from the mean. Just like I know that 66 was a deviation from the mean. That was my potential. That's not my average.
Yeah.
And so that was a deviation from the mean that I could enjoy. When I got and shoot 89 the next day, that's a deviation from the mean the other way, and you got to flush it and move on. Take some lessons from it, move on to the next round.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things that he had mentioned on like the middle thing is having a confidence, right? And not letting like one shot or something throw off that confidence when you go up to the next one. It's not always necessarily thinking about that last shot, but just not being as confident when you go up to the next one.
I mean, think about, if we want to equate this to politics, think about some of the most successful politicians in America. They're some of the most confident people you ever met. Nobody likes somebody that's weak in the knees. They like confidence. I think about Mark Wayne Mullen here in Oklahoma. The man doesn't lack confidence. He stands up on Fox News, MSNBC, CNN. Doesn't matter which reporter he's talking to. He's authentic. He's bold. He knows why he's serving in the U.S. Senate, and he makes his point. And he knows a lot of people don't agree with him, but it doesn't change his unwavering commitment to the principles he believes in. And I think you say the same thing about Donald Trump, and I think that's why he wins the election. I mean, the man is unflappable. Like, there is not a politician in the history of the world probably that has more haters than Donald Trump. Yet the man has an ability to, stand up on stage and deliver the lines again and again and again. So I think there's a lot of equation to golf. But speaking of politics, it was kind of cool that we didn't even push Phillip to talk about politics. He wanted to talk about politics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were you kind of shocked by that? Like, I didn't even have to prod.
I was.
He was great. He's like, I may have just lost half my listeners, but I thought that's fascinating to hear him talk about. He really believes that Elon Musk was a game changer in the election this year, and he said, I'm a big Elon Musk fan, so that probably tells you who I supported in the election. But yeah, it's interesting. You get some interesting takes. And I mean, his big takeaway was what a lot of people have said is that the liberals, the Democrats, just overplayed their hand on transgender issues and other liberal social issues. And most Americans just don't care. Like, they want a good economy. They want a strong leader. They don't want to be told what to think all the time. And I think it's, and Rob Fuse here, he'd be bitching at me from the back seat, arguing, but he's not here. So, we get to enjoy just basking in victory.
The small wins, the in between.
Well, and I want to again thank some people. I want to thank Phillip Walker. Thank you again for just giving us full reign of the lesson and letting us film it all and share it with our viewers. If you're not following Back Nine Golf on Instagram, please do. Great videos he puts out. And also, there's people from all over the country that fly in to take lessons from Phillip. He's in great demand. I'm very thankful to Maggie Roller as well for introducing me and getting me in so that I can get over there on a regular basis to get some lessons. Also, I've got some new sunglasses on. I want to thank friend of the program, Jefferson Thomas, the Synapse Group. This is a corporate gift from the Synapse Group. I think these are very sharp, best in the business of what they do. Signature gathering, paid doors, paid labor on campaigns for center right. So Rob, you and your friends can't use Jefferson, but others, contact the Synapse Group. Jefferson, thanks for the sunglasses.
And if you want to get to know a little bit more about Jefferson, we have a 9 holes, 9 questions on YouTube.
Is it still the most viewed YouTube video?
I don't think so. I think one of the Ireland episodes took over. I think the two Ireland are the top.
Let me tell you, Jefferson has a very big head about the fact that at one point it was the most viewed YouTube video, and he would tell everybody about that. So maybe if you're a fan of Jefferson's, get more people to watch that so it can become the most viewed again. Make it the most viewed again. Follow us on social media. TikTok, what's golf.politics.
Yep.
Instagram, Facebook, Golf and Politics, and X, Golf
Politics
Pod. Thanks for listening. I appreciate all of you.